In a city ringed by mountains and rivers, there was a king named Murad. Murad was not like other kings. He feared voices he could not hold a key to, and ideas that slipped into palaces like an unquenchable light. In his palace, where fabrics gleamed and curtains whispered, silence was treated as a faithful guard, and silence alone seemed enough to preserve the image of the king as he wished it to be. One day a small chest arrived in the city, covered in symbols. The chest looked innocent, but it was full of folded pages and breathing words. The books were first seen by some artisans and students, and they began to be read in the alleys, murmured in cafes, and debated in the markets. Within days, new stories and ideas spread about courage previously unknown, about women who decided to plant orchards where none had been planted before, about a farmer who discovered that the earth rewards those who water it with honesty. The king heard of this and summoned his advisors. They told him that books were dangerous because they moved people from their places, because they taught them how to ask, how to refuse, how to dream. One of them said, "Your Majesty, books give people keys, and keys open doors we do not know what lies behind." The thought of losing control over how people saw him made the king tremble. So he decided to ban the entry of books into the city. Murad issued a decree: no books allowed. Libraries were closed, some pages were burned in the city squares, and crates were sent into the river. At first it seemed to work. Silence returned to the palaces, and people resumed their old rituals. But silence was not an empty void. It became a place where questions multiplied in even greater quiet. In the alleys, books did not disappear entirely. Words hid in small pockets, in notes folded and slipped beneath children's shoes, in songs sung at night. People began to read in low voices and share ideas through gestures and smiles. Books turned into shards of light, passed secretly, and anyone who read a book felt as if they carried a forbidden flame. Years passed, and the city changed. Ideas no longer spread openly, but they did not die. One night, a young girl entered the king's palace carrying an old book. She bore no weapon, only a single page written in a looping hand. Facts are not erased by burning paper. She stood before the king and looked him in the eye without fear. She did not attack him with words. She read aloud a story about a child who planted a tree in barren soil, and how that tree returned water and smiles to the village. The king was moved by the words, but the true shock came when the people of the city, those he thought had lost the ability to dream, gathered in the squares holding small scraps of paper and repeating the same story. It was not a violent rebellion, but a collective reminder that ideas are not easily suppressed. One quiet morning, the king sat on his balcony and looked over the city. He saw children reading beneath small trees, women weaving new tales, and artisans jotting notes on pieces of cloth. He realized that his protection of the image he had crafted for himself had deprived people of the tools to live with: dignity and curiosity. He understood that his fear of books was, in truth, a fear of losing control over the truth. He did not repeal the decree in a single instant, but his heart changed slowly. He allowed a small library to open in a corner of the city, stocking books on agriculture, medicine, and stories. He no longer banned every book. He learned to confront ideas with dialogue instead of prohibition. Over time, the king began to listen to stories himself and to sit with his people to learn from them as they learned from him. Thus, the ban on books was not merely a political decision, but a mirror of a human fear. When that fear faded, books returned to the city not as a threat, but as companions on a long journey of curiosity and change.